Hey everyone, welcome back. And today I'm at a really neat place I've also never been to in the Bay Area. And this is the Jack London State Park. And world famous author, born in 1847. He died in 1916 of some kind of intestinal disease. Died really rapidly, but in his 40-year life he wrote over 50 novels, including, White Fang, Call of the Wild, and The Sea Wolf, to name a few of his famous ones. So this is where he ended up having a residence here, and there's a whole state park and a museum. So let's go check out where Jack London decided to live when he was a writer in beautiful Glen, California. All right, let's go see what we can find. So here's the map of the park. And we're here. There's a cottage up there. And then the Wolf House is the residence that he built, but apparently didn't live in. There's a bathhouse. So as you can see, it's a big area here. And the fee to get in the park was $10 for an average car, but it's based on also how many people are in the car. A lot of eucalyptus trees. And there's a rattlesnake warning sign here. This is the prime time of year for them, so definitely watch out for them. I'll be watching out. So here's the area where Jack London lived. There's a sign here talking about him. And like I said, his lifespan was pretty short. But in that time, he wrote over 50 novels. All right, let's see what else we can discover here. There's an old I guess this is his old farmhouse, and that might have been something he would use back then. And there's another carriage way back on the corner there. See it? They should have that on display so we can see it better. I wonder what this is for. I guess they had a fireplace out here. I don't see a chimney though. That sign said he owned 129 acres. That's a lot of land. 129 acres. Manure back and forth on this rail system here. Stallion barn, far right. That's a big horse there. Big horse. Grand Champion. Let you guys read this if you want. So, apparently they would have some kind of rail system here. They would go into this and to store the manure. I imagine for fertilizer purposes too. This is the other side. So this is built in 1884. That's like a steam powered. You see that giant belt on it? So that's actually an early car horse. No, it has a saw on the side. It's a saw blade on the side. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's a portable saw that's steam powered. I like these old barn doors. These look like they might be original. After that rattlesnake sign, I'm being pretty aware where I'm walking. Rattlesnakes they like being under rocks and stuff. Kind of like spiders. And they do rattle, so they give you a warning. But when they move, they can be slithering on a day like today because it's nice and warm up here. And then they got a Jack London Vineyard. I like those old barn doors. It's interesting, it's all built out of stone and it looks like cement. But you can imagine bringing that giant horse out here. And then before, these were all riding trails and be quite the beautiful area to ride your horse in. Now, you see the grapes? Typically, this is a time of year they would harvest the grapes in August. But I think it's late August, so they'll be harvesting them soon. But they do look ripe, don't they? So that's Jack London's stables. It certainly is pretty around here. And then, of course, they have the wolf as the logo. Check out all these old cactus. These are probably original. Looks like there's a sign over here. It tells us, might give us some information on them. Jack London and Luther Burbank. Hey, Jack London saw fine fat cattle in Hawaii living well on spined cactus and wanted to duplicate the success of Hawaiian ranches. This experiment failed. Spineless cactus needed irrigation for rapid growth, and some plants grew back those spines. However, I'm noticing that these look like they are a success. I don't see any spines on these things. There's a few. Interesting story about the spineless cactus. What do we got in here? Old cement roller, farming equipment. I'm trying to master this soil and the crops that spring from it. Definitely some old farming, all horse powered. Well, that's cool. Purchased from the city of Oakland to water eucalyptus trees on the beautiful ranch. That's really nice. Someone took the time to restore it. There's a little sign about it again. This thing's interesting. Definitely can't budge that. Okay, put my mask on.
Hello.
Hello.
How you doing?
Good. Ooh, it feels good in here.
Yeah.
This is the cottage?
This is the cottage.
Hence the name.
Is
So
this your...
let me just say, we don't charge for the tours, but we welcome any donation. We're volunteers,
Oh, okay.
and the state doesn't help this effort. So
Oh, really? Huh.
we used to charge, but we don't.
Where
Okay.
all have you been in the park so far?
I've only been here and I walked up the trail.
Okay. Well, this is the cottage. This is where Jack London lived.
Okay.
From 1911 to 1916 when he died. He died here in the cottage. His wife lived into the 1950s, and on the other
wow.
side, the museum is the house.
Yeah, I'm gonna go to that.
Yeah,
Towards the end.
she built that after he died, and the house, the dream house they were building, the Wolf House, which is on that side too, had burned down just before they were to move in. Definitely worth a walk down there.
Okay. That one they never moved into. It
Never. Yep.
burned down right before.
Yep.
Hmm.
The workers left linseed rags in the house. They were oiling the
Yeah.
wood, and it was very, very hot, and
Wow.
the linseed rags started on fire, and it burnt the house down.
Spontaneous combustion.
Yeah.
And he died of some kind of intestinal thing going on?
Yeah. You wanted to tell?
Yeah,
me?
kidney failure.
Kidney.
He got an infection called the yaws, and when they were going to take like a 3-year trip around the world,
Oh,
they had
okay.
to come home when they got to Australia because he was so sick.
Uh-huh.
But the skin disease that he got, they treated it with mercury sulfate cream.
Yeah.
So, because, mercury was used to treat many things back then. So that's probably what sped up his kidney disease.
Yeah.
But he died at 40 and,
Right.
had written,
50 books. Right?
yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Oh, a lot of articles.
And a lot of articles,
Yeah.
lectures.
So that's like 2 books a year or more. More than 2 books a year.
He had a discipline of writing at least 1,000 words a day.
Wow.
Even when he was going, as my partner here says, he was going to sail around the world.
Right.
He took a library with him, and he kept to his 1,000 words a day.
That's impressive.
So this cottage was here when they bought the property. He
Okay.
bought the property in parcels, and the part here with the buildings was the last part. You can kind of see here how it grew over the years.
Yeah.
It was a winery building when they had purchased it. He wasn't really interested in growing grapes for wine, but he at that point was writing to build his ranch because he was a sustainable farmer and raised livestock and kind of ahead of his time.
Yeah.
With that,
way
way
ahead.
ahead of his time.
Yeah, terracing the land, using manure,
Right.
fertilizer.
Right.
Yeah, he was, and there's an interesting thing that he did. He designed, and he had construction, what they call a pig palace. And the reason they called it a pig palace is that it cost $3,000, but $3,000 in that
A lot of money.
was a lot of money, and he was always looking for a way for efficiency. And what he more so than being recognized as a writer, he wanted to he had a dream here on the beauty range, and he wanted to be recognized for the agricultural innovations
Right.
that he presented, because he traveled all over the world.
He made a living of his books, though, right?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
In his writing.
Yeah. And after he died, his wife Charmian and his stepsister Eliza, they ran a guest ranch for a little while,
Oh, okay.
trying to just keep things going. And,
Yeah.
and Charmian made sure his books were still published, and she'd be involved in rights being sold for movies or just to kind of keep things going. This is the Unpacking Room, and there's a lot of artifacts here from their travels.
Okay.
So they traveled in the South Pacific. This is them on their boat, the Snark.
The Snark?
The Snark, yeah.
That's a funny name. This is a...
And this is a picture of her, of
This is-
Charmian, his wife.
That's a cool,
Yes.
interesting name.
Yes, C-H-A, in the Solomon Islands. And that was in 1906 or 1908. That was very, very
Like,
controversial.
They must have been like, whoa.
Well, some of those islands still had cannibals at that point in time.
Well, yeah, I think some of them still do.
They may. You'll see in the museum.
Are these from the
Yep,
islands?
yeah,
The spears?
spears.
Wow. And some various pictures here.
Mhm.
So back then you had to take a ship there everywhere, right?
They did. When
Ship
they
and trains.
came home from Australia, they came home on a steamer. They did
Right.
a sole boat.
The steamer's a little faster than a sailboat.
Yeah. So again, things from or more spears.
These are actually his things?
Mhm,
Wow.
mhm.
They're preserved.
Yes.
Wow, that's a huge fish.
Yeah, I don't know where that was taken, to be perfectly honest.
Not around here.
No. No, not at all.
All right, neat.
So, this is kind of a typical bedroom. What a bedroom would look like. Only people who were very close friends would stay here in the cottage. Where the ruins are across the way, there used to be a whole building on top of there. And their workers slept there, but on one side, and guests could be on the other. And his stepsister, she had her office in there for a while. It was damaged in the earthquake in 1906, and then it burned down in the 50s. But they do concerts there in the summer.
Currently?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, yeah.
I saw some.
Yeah.
They must have had some yesterday going on.
Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, yeah.
And then we got various animals on the walls.
Yeah.
Hunting?
He didn't hunt. He bought these.
Oh, okay.
They were meant to be decorations for the Wolf House. This is another great picture of her with a pistol on her, a gun on her hip.
Oh, wow.
Oops.
Protection against the cannibals.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
Yep.
No problem. Huh. Yeah, you had to be pretty brave to travel places like that.
Mm-hmm. Well, he had a sailboat from the time he was like a kid, and he sailed in San Francisco Bay. Kind of
that's
like
funny.
postcard type things.
Yeah, those are funny. It's like we still do that, huh?
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah, so he maintained he wasn't going to be, as he called it, a work beast. Sorry, it gets warm back.
Well, don't apologize.
So this, where we're standing, was the original office.
Okay.
When the Wolf House burned, he added the room down there.
So he did a lot of writing? in
He
this-
wrote at the flat table there, the first table.
Well, I would have thought his desk would have been looking out a window.
Yeah, well, there's pictures of him here actually writing outside. He
Oh,
wrote
okay.
everything longhand, so he could write wherever he wanted to.
Wow. Huh. And what's that thing over there?
That's a an old mimeograph for printing. A friend of Jack's apparently had the company that made that, and he gave it to them.
Oh, wow.
And the pictures most of them portray something from his various books.
Sea Wolf and Call the Wild.
Yeah. This is
White
from Valley
Fang.
of the Moon.
Right.
Not sure what that one's from, but something with, I don't think, they look too warm or coolly dressed to be like from the
Now these were,
Klondike and whatnot.
are those period correct paintings or they're just?
No, they're
Oh, okay.
they're just
Put it over there.
copies.
Huh.
Valley of the Moon's actually very autobiographical. A lot of his books are. Starts in Oakland, this couple meets, they travel around, and they end up here in the Valley of the Moon and buy a farm, buy a ranch.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, so it's...
Huh.
Charmian, his wife, she would type up his manuscripts and help edit, and
So was a lot of stuff published in newspapers or actually books?
It was in, even like, I want to say even Call of the Wild, in the beginning was published as a periodical, coming
Right.
out in newspapers or books in segments.
Because they had to get people interested, and people
Yeah.
read newspapers all the time,
Yeah.
right?
Oh, he when he decided he came back from the Klondike. They went to go for gold, which they did not find.
Right.
And he made up his mind he was going to write, and he had just thousands of times he was turned down, hundreds of times, and
Just like
they
any
kept
successful author, right?
Yeah, kept at it.
When did he realize that he had a talent for writing? Do you know, at a young age?
I think a very young age.
Yeah.
He won a prize as quite a young kid, really, for something in the paper. He didn't really have a lot of education. He dropped out of school, but back then
Well, yeah. it was,
you could take an entrance exam, and he got into Berkeley and went for one semester.
wow.
But he was pretty much self-taught. And this is his sleeping porch.
This is nice.
They enclosed these porches when the Wolf House burned, and that was how he'd put notes. He'd stay up late at night, and he'd put notes and hang them up there for things he wanted to remember and write about.
That's very neat.
These are Charmian's quarters. She had a little more luxury than he did.
Yeah, I just saw that movie, Jungle Cruise,
Uh-huh.
and it was set in 1915.
Oh, really? Oh, the clothes look
So
familiar.
it was very similar.
Was it any good?
It was entertaining, yeah.
Okay.
It wasn't, I mean, it was,
I'm wondering if Disney...
if you
'cause-
like Raiders of the Lost Ark,
Uh-huh.
then you'd like that.
Okay.
It's very similar. They have to find, they're trying,
It's funny because that's one of those rides at Disneyland that's kind of run its course, but I'm sure the movie
Yeah.
will make it popular again.
well, the funniest thing is they managed to get all the corny jokes in the movie.
Oh, that's funny.
So, because the character that Dwayne Johnson plays is this joking, kind of conniving boat guy.
Oh, that's...
Pretty much does says what he can to get someone to let him take them upriver.
So the little extension here on the bedroom
Yeah,
was built after the Wolf House burned as well. And
they must have been pretty depressed when the Wolf House burned.
I think, it was a couple years before he died, but I think that probably led to his demise at such a young age.
Now, you said the Wolf House is built now?
There's ruins.
Ruins, okay.
Yeah, so if you go across to the other parking lot,
Yeah.
the museum's there, and then it's just over a mile loop down to the Wolf House
Oh,
and
that's not
back.
too bad.
Yeah. And the graves are on the way. Their graves are on the way to the Wolf House. And then this is her porch. So they actually brought Jack into this room the day he died because it was bigger. And then...
Was she a writer at all?
She did write, yes.
Okay.
She published books as well.
You have a nice, was that pond here when they were here?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Yeah, that's one of the people that's actually a paid employee of the trust, is we have a gardener here, so there.
Huh. Very neat.
And she was a woman quite ahead of her time.
In what way?
She rode horses astride.
Did you wear pants?
She'd wear pants. She certainly would do anything he'd do. They boxed, and she never remarried.
And
but-
she lived into the 1950s.
Yeah.
So she had a long life. She never remarried though?
No.
during the Industrial Revolution, he worked for a canning outfit.
Okay.
And he worked the hours. I mean,
Right.
10 cents an hour.
Right.
And he realized that they were using him as a machine,
Uh-huh.
you know, and not making any money. And one of his first adventures that he got into was becoming an oyster pirate. Have you heard of that?
A pirate? No.
An oyster pirate. Well, there were oyster beds, okay? And
Well, no,
so
no.
these unsavory, unsavory people, they were pirates, and he wanted to join them. And he found out that one of them had a sloop. I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right. A little sailboat
Okay.
for sale.
Yeah, schooner.
So he went to his aunt to borrow some money, and and she would give him anything, but she was concerned that, I mean, stealing oysters was, you could wind up in prison.
Yeah.
Or get shot.
Yeah.
Okay. So, but he did, and that's that real tough crowd that he mixed with.
Mm-hmm.
They're unsavory.
So my mother was always wanted to be an author, but she never was able to achieve it. But you remember that magazine, California Living?
Yeah, it sounds familiar.
She worked in a broccoli plant in Salinas in the early 70s. And
a broccoli plant?
Yeah, broccoli.
Like
Yeah.
processing?
Yeah,
it?
and
Okay.
she wrote an article, and it got published in California Living. It was about how of a hellish the job was.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
And what year was this?
Probably 74, 75.
Yeah, well, you know, going back to the early 1900s.
Yeah.
I mean, you can imagine how difficult it was
Right.
for the common worker.
Right.
I mean, you have an example of your mom, but that was 1974.
I know, that was nothing.
They both dated to the mid 1800s, and the Londons renovated it and made it into their kitchen and living room, dining room. It's just their laundry room.
Manual crank.
Yeah, had to heat the iron up on the stove.
Yeah. Not many people even iron anymore.
No, it's got to be pretty bad for me to get the iron out.
I used to, I worked at Nordstrom's
Oh,
in Corte Madera, and I used to iron my shirts every morning. It was such a pain.
oh, but I bet that was sort of expected.
Yeah, and I wore 100% cotton shirts, because I like the breathability, but they definitely were a pain to iron.
Yeah. So this is the kitchen.
Oh wow, this is nice.
Yeah. Kind of come back into fashion.
Yeah. Huh.
The stove is original to the property. It's been refurbished, and everything else is true to the period.
Wow, this is original stove, huh?
Yeah.
It's beautiful. Very nice. So this required, you had to set a fire in here,
Yeah,
right?
I think.
Down there?
Yeah, I think the wood went in here. This wasn't.
So there's a lot to dinner back then. A lot of effort.
Absolutely.
You had to get this hot.
That whole thing would probably be pretty warm.
In the summertime, wouldn't be very fun, would it?
No. But I
This
think,
guy's a little overdone, I think.
yeah, that's been here as long as I've been volunteering. Pretty old chicken.
That's funny. This is nice. Is this original too?
No,
No, okay.
but they did research and they used catalogs and
Tried to
and they
be
knew
as
where.
close to period
Yeah.
correct.
Those buildings are interesting. The barns.
Yeah, I was in there. I went
Yeah.
into
So the one on the left
Right.
was here. That was the Sherry barn. And that's built by Chinese stonemasons.
Oh, okay.
And then the one in the middle, did you walk down there?
I did.
Okay,
I
so
went,
you know it was the
I went-
manure pit.
Yeah, which is weird. They had like a cable
Yeah, and he
system.
had a pulley system to, again,
But that was
less
for
work.
fertilizer?
He'd use a fertilizer,
Right.
yeah, he'd actually spray it on the crops and fields.
Well, they still do that to this day. Sometimes.
And then the other one, both those buildings, the two to the right, are both Italian stonemasons, because it was Italian stonemasons that built the Wolf House. The big chairs, the rocking chair
Yeah.
and the other big chairs, made from koa wood from Hawaii.
Oh, wow.
The original light fixtures, the wooden bowls, the originals were koa wood. Those are reproductions now. These ornate cabinets, those came from Korea. Jack was a correspondent and he traveled to Asia. There is a Russian
Do you think
samovar.
he lived to 40 and all of
And everything he did, it's
amazing. Yeah, I mean, and the effort, that's not easy.
Yeah.
Especially if you lived here. So he jumps on the steam train to San Francisco, to the steamer, then what, it's a 6-week journey, 5-week journey?
Oh, yeah, I mean, they were gone for a
And then
long
you have
time
to
on the
have,
sailboat.
somehow you have to figure out your accommodations in advance, I would
Yeah.
think. Well, it's crazy to think about all
Charmian's piano is in the museum. That one's just there, but her original piano sits in the museum. And if you want to tell people an interesting story to your
Yeah.
left,
that. Yes.
that is a duck press.
That thing there, the duck press?
Duck press. So you,
I don't know if I want to know what it's for.
well, I googled it. You may not. It's for after you take the feathers and everything. You actually press the carcass in there to get juice and the blood out of it, and
Wow.
that can become part of the sauce for cooking.
Okay.
Just
A duck press, I've never heard of that.
so it was a gift from the owner of the Saddle Rock restaurant in Oakland. They used to be able to serve wild game in the restaurants, and then the health department said no more. So Jack London loved duck, and he liked it really rare. So his friend gave him that duck press.
Wow.
Yeah, you can Google it. And somebody just told me last week that one of the big chefs actually showed making a recipe with a duck press.
Huh. Bizarre.
And so again, you'll see this, like the woven mats and everything carried through in the House of Happy Walls. They really liked that kind of decor.
Yeah, it's kind of neat. I mean, you think about 100 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Looks pretty.
So during the fires, the state had to come in and they took everything out of all the buildings.
During the ones recently?
2017, and I think they did it again. for
Are you
the one-
serious?
Yeah.
Because they want to preserve everything?
Yeah. And the state down mid-state or toward, somewhere in the valley, they have a massive warehouse.
I never even thought about them. I didn't realize they did that, stuff like that.
Yeah.
I thought they would just let it burn.
No, well, we were lucky that the park didn't burn, but, I mean, you see some new houses on your drive up here. They burned. But, yeah, that was lucky that fire never...
So this here is the back cottage pond. There's some fish in there. Some carp, some goldfish, some minnows. It says garden restoration in progress. There's a sundial here. Let's see what time it is. It's not a sundial, it's a compass. Well, that was certainly nice of them to show me around. They said they are all donation, that the state doesn't help them, so I popped a little money in their donation box. So if you come up here realize that this is all privately funded. It's nothing to do with the state of California, even though it's a state park. Now, the lady told me, go around here, and there's a place called the Pig Palace that Jack London built for his pigs, and apparently spent, well, you heard what she said, $3,000 on the Pig Palace. So let's go see the pig. We're getting warmer. Pig Palace, straight ahead. Another sign here says eucalyptus, the cash crop that failed. You know, eucalyptus, as you can see here, are everywhere. But they were thought to be a good wind barrier, and people planted them, but unfortunately they have shallow roots. And during big windstorms, they tend to fall down. So now, in certain areas, they get cut down because they're a danger to cars, because they're extremely heavy. When they fall, they tend to crush cars and kill people. So there's a lot of eucalyptus here that were wind barriers originally. Okay, here we are, the Pig Palace. I've just completed a pig pen that will make anyone in the United States who is interested in the manufacture of pork sit up and take notice. I am not raising livestock for the butcher, but for the breeder or anybody who wants the best of thoroughbreds. Of course, the culls will be killed, but my idea is not to raise anything here that can't be driven out on a hook. And this is the Pig Palace that he apparently spent $3,000 on. Wow, look at this place. You're not kidding. The pigs would be there. There's a water trough, cool area to stay in. It's all round. And then in the center, they had this big I'm not sure what this exactly would be used for, this center thing. I guess the people that fed them. One of them that are open here. So, slop, water, and pig quarters. It looks like they'd be nice and cool to live in. Now I know why they call this place the Pig Palace, because what pig wouldn't want to live here? Especially since Jack wasn't trying to kill him. And this is the centerpiece. Another little sign here says he occupied the premises from 1905 to 1916, born in San Francisco. In 1876, died here November 22nd. I got a sign here for mountain lions. So this is the path to, I think, the Wolf House. And then Jack London's grave. Certainly a nice path, as long as we don't run into any mountain lions. And a poison oak sign. I haven't seen one of those around. But I've seen plenty of poison oak. I'll show you some poison oak. You want to see it. It's very reddish in color. Not always, but this time of year. There's poison oak. kind of dusty right now, but that is poison oak. And it's so, for those of you who haven't had it, if I just like grabbed one of those with my fingers and rubbed it on my skin a little bit, I would have it. I mean, it just takes a couple drops of the oil and you now have poison oak. And the problem with poison oak is it spreads. You scratch, it's highly, it makes you itch. So you scratch that with your fingers, then your fingers have that oil on them, and then you scratch somewhere else in your body. I haven't had it in a long time, but it's not a lot of fun. I'm almost there. Wolf House ruins and grave. And I'm out of shape. It's also about 100 degrees out here. There's a sign. I wouldn't call this a strenuous hike, but it's also not super easy because of the temperature right now. Jack and Charmaine London. This is their resting place, or his resting place. Jack London. And it sounds to me like he was cremated. Nice place up here. Not a bad place to spend your time in the heavens. And looks like pioneer settlers' children. Their graves are here. Very withered gravestones. Can't even read that anymore. So they have this big tree here. Where the children were buried. So it makes you wonder if this tree was here before or they added it. This looks like more than 100 years old, that tree though. But not a bad place to lay to rest. Give you a little 360 of what Jack has been watching for over 100 years. Alright, let's go look at the Wolf House. The story goes that Jack London was building this. This is his dream house. And when the woodsmen were inside staining the floors, they left some rags of linseed oil out, and they unfortunately burst into flames and burnt it down. So that's some pretty unfortunate events there, if you think about it. That's a big place. Look at all the fireplaces, 1, 2, 3, 4 that I can see from here. I kind of would call this a palace. Okay, so it's got a layout. It's got a digital rendering, what it would have looked like. And it actually has floor plans. So let's see, let's do it in order. First floor. Reflection pool, library, guest suites, breezeway, gun and trophy room, living room, music, alcove. Third floor, arcade. Charmaine's apartments, extra room, bath, Jack's work den. Then we got third floor. Wait, that was third floor. And the last, sleeping tower, and then water tower. That place is very impressive. The Wolf House. A dream almost come true. I'm building my dream house on my dream ranch. My house will be standing, act of God permitting, for thousands of years. Well, act of God being the men. Wolf House got its name from Jack's nickname. London had become famous for writing about wolves. Construction began in 1911, influenced by the catastrophic San Francisco earthquake and firestorm. London worked closely with architect Albert Farr. The rustic fireplace design used local volcanic rock, unpeeled redwood, mounted to a concrete foundation that could hold a 40-story building. 4 stories and 15,000 square foot house commanded a view of the Sonoma Valley. Its 26 rooms and 9 fireplaces cost about $50,000 by today's standards. Heating, electricity, and refrigerating, cleaning, and vacuum cleaning plants. What is a vacuum cleaning plant? Tragically, a month before the Londons were to move in, on August 22nd, that's close to this day, 1913, a fire probably caused a spontaneous combustion and destroyed the home. It was very quickly on fire, devastated London. The walls were standing and I shall rebuild. He suffered from poor health. London never recovered from the blow. 3 years later, at the age of 40, he died of kidney failure. That's a sad story. Here's a rendering of the house. And there's a little area here to view it in. Wow. Wow. This place is amazing. Mansion, no doubt. Huge fireplaces. So we would be on the 3rd floor, I think. I don't know. It's hard to tell. 2nd or 3rd floor. So this is where, if we're looking at this picture, trying to block the glare, that's what it would have looked like. Look at that big fireplace there in the center. That's a big one. And the views he had, or would have had, that would have devastated me too. About ready to move into this palace and it got burned down. Not for certain. Who knows? Someone could have torched it on purpose. Who knows? So this is the back side here. But you can just see how ominous this is. It's a very impressive structure considering the time it was made, and then unfortunately burned. But over 100 years ago. I doubt that modern concrete was part of it, but maybe it was. Probably a way of keeping it from falling. But think of the poor horses. Feel for your fellow horse. Had to bring all this equipment here. All the stones and the steel beams. Another angle. We got some picnic tables out here. You could bring a picnic lunch or sit on a bench over there. And they actually have water fountains, which is awesome. Different maritime things. Kitchen. The cactus that we saw earlier. Some actual typed manuscripts. So, if I didn't tell you already, this is the museum. Look at those horseshoes. That was a big horse. Oh, look at this. In case of my death, it is my wish that my home, house with happy walls, is not to be lived in by anyone. There's a model of the wolf house. And a reflection pool. More things on his trips. Interesting. He's quite the worldly man, this guy. Another quote. Check this out. The Egyptian bust. Horse is cool. Very nice. Stargazing. Model ship. I guess he brought a phonograph to show the natives music. And this is a model of the Snark, his ship. It's got a little 4-cylinder engine in there. Language of the Stars. Medicine kit. Jewelry. Objects of Oceania. Look at that, like a king or headdress or something. That's pretty cool. I like that. That's pretty awesome. Nice picture of his more career woman. That typewriter. Some handwritten notes. Baby booty. Houdini. Henry Houdini. This museum is very nice. Got a saddle here. Jack London's final words to his wife before he died: "Thank God you're not afraid of anything." She seems like a nice lady. There's a closet. The shoes and the I guess the ladies' room you'd call it. I like it. It's got all these native, this is made into a lamp. He's got like the Indiana Jones vibe, you know? That world adventurer. Small camera. Ward apartment. Old pictures here. Fish, look at the fish. Is this one of his typewriters?
The travel typewriter, yes.
Wow. That's pretty cool. Tiny. Dog collar. Hey everyone, pardon my sweat all over my face. It's 100 degrees and I've been hiking to get here. I hope you enjoyed the Jack London State Park. There's a lot of neat things to see. The cottage, the wolf house, the grave, museum. Except for the heat today that I'm suffering from. It was enjoyable. So I'd highly recommend coming here. And this wolf house that I'm standing at now is a bit of a hike to get here. It's half mile each way. But it's worth it if you can do it. It's very impressive. So thanks again for coming along. If you like what I'm doing in the Bay Area and beyond, please subscribe to my channel and help my channel grow. Leave me some comments. I always respond to my comments. Thumbs up and bell notification. So thanks again. I'll see you on my next video.